Good morning, math students. Today we're going to work on graphing, and we are going to do this because in science you're also going to be working on graphing. So Ms. Kalkbrenner and I are working together to try to get you guys to better understand graphs this week. So today what we're going to focus on is being able to identify the axis, title, and data points in a line graph. So the first part here is just a fun math puzzle that you could do on your own. Not required, but just something if you want to try it out and find the missing numbers. All right, so there's some missing words in here that we're going to fill in. So example 1 here, we're going to use the data in the table to make a line graph. Place the years on the horizontal axis, so this is step 1. Place the years on the horizontal axis. And when I think of horizontal, I think of a horizon. This is called a horizon, where there's the grass, and then up here there's the sun. So that helps me think of what direction it would go. The horizontal axis is the one that goes straight across. So we're going to put years on the horizontal axis. Then we are going to put population on the vertical axis. So the next one is population and vertical. So might have to turn your iPad a little. We're going to write population. All right, so we got step 1 down. We labeled our axes. So the axis is the lines that we're going to put our data along. Okay, so there's our axis, and here's our axis. The other thing you're going to hear Ms. Kalkbrenner say a lot, and we're going to work on this week, is that the bottom one, the horizontal, is called the x-axis, and the tall one, the up and down one, is called the y-axis. Okay, so you're going to hear that a lot with Ms. Kalkbrenner this week, the x and the y-axis. So the next thing that we need to determine, step 2, determine the appropriate scale, which means how big we will make the graph, and interval. That means what we'll count by for numbers, because if you look at our population here, it's going to be a huge thing, or it's going to take up a huge space if we count by ones, right? If we go 1, 2, 3, we would have to go all the way up till we get to our first point, 1,300. That would take up a lot of space. So there's other ways that we can write a graph so that it's not taking up that much space. All right, so let's figure out our scale and our interval. So what we're going to count by and how we are going to count by. So the first thing, remember our bottom axis, our x-axis, is the year. So if we look here, our years, we start at 1650. And then we have to think of how should we maybe go to 1700. So I think the best way for us to do that is to count by tens. So we will go down here and we will start at, let's pick another color. We're going to start at 1650. Try to space them evenly. I'm going to move my years word down a little. 1660, 1670, 1680, 1690, 1700. All right, so we got our years plotted on there. Now we need to figure out the population. So we have to think of what could we count by that would help us go from 1,300 all the way to 5,000. So what I think we should count by is if we count by thousands. So right here then, I'm going to go up a little. I'm going to say 1,000. Then we're going to say 2,000. 3,000. 4,000. And our last one was 5,000. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill in the lines for our graph. So in order for us to plot the points, we're gonna have to have some straight lines. So the nice thing about using your iPad in Notability is if you start with your point and you draw a line up, if you hold it down, the line straightens out. So like if my line was looking like this, if you hold it down, the line straightens out. So go ahead and make your straight lines. So if you don't lift your finger up, the lines straighten out. Now we're going to go across this way. And just make it as close as you can to the lines that we put on there. All right, so we have our scale and our interval all set. Now we need to mark the data points for each of the years. So when we mark data points, we first try to find the year that we're talking about. So our first one is 1650. And we have to go up to 1,300. And this is going to be hard. We need to figure out, I know it's bigger than 1,000. And I know it's less than 2,000. So it's going to be somewhere in here. And I think of right in the middle would be 1,500, so it's going to be below that. So your data point should be right around there. The next year we have, careful, is 1670. So we're jumping ahead a little. And we have to go to 1,800. So again, it's lower than this 2,000. So it's going to be right around here. So let's go ahead and put it. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. So let's go ahead then and put it right here. Our next data point is 1690. So again, we're jumping ahead a little. And we're at 4,200. So go all the way up to find our 4,000. And go a little above it. Then our last data point is the year 1700, and we're at 5,000. Sorry, my dog wanted to share with you guys too. All right, so we mark the data points for each data value. We did that. Next, we're going to connect the points with straight lines. So again, this is where Notability is nice, that you can go from there to there, hold it down, and let it straighten out. Hold it down and straighten out. So your final graph should look like this. The last thing we need that's not on here is step 4. So we finished step 3. Step 4, we need to title the graph. So usually you can just take the title that was already there and put it in. So population of New Hampshire. That's our last step, is always make sure your graph has a title so people know what the graph is about. That is a great job of setting up your graph. Now we're going to work through some reading of our graphs. So example 2, we're going to use the line graph to answer the questions. In what year did CDs cost the most? So before MP3s and like Spotify and Pandora, there was something called CDs that were a disc you would put in and they would play music. Okay? So this disc went into a CD player and played music. So that's something Miss O'Mara used to buy back in the day. Spent way too much money on them. So we're going to find out what year did they cost the most. So if you look at the price of a CD, there they were less than $15. Here, year 2000, they're about $15. 2001, a little more. So the year that they cost the most then was 2002. So it wants to know next, how much did CDs cost in the year 2000? So if we look at our graph and we find 2000 and we go all the way up, how much was that? And we got to look across to find out. It is $15. So we're going to go back and say $15. So now it's trying to figure out, did the CD prices increase? Did they go up or did they go down from 1999 to 2002? So if we look at 1999, they were about $13. 2002, they were about $18. So did the price get to be more or less? So it increased.